And hello and welcome, everybody. We are going to begin the session now. I am Dr. Jaclyn Kostner, one of the two people that will be presenting today. I want to welcome you to this webinar titled How to Become a Virtual Advocate Superstar. Now, superstar really means that you are very, very successful as a virtual advocate in this virtual setting. Now, think about this for a moment. Sir Isaac Newton invented calculus during the plague. Certainly, those of us that are in COVID-19, we can reinvent ourselves in how we do business so we also can be very, very successful in our advocacy campaigns. So this webinar is going to give you 5 very useful ways that you can improve your effectiveness as an advocate in a virtual environment. So if you want greater influence, greater reach, and greater results, you are definitely in the right place. This webinar is being recorded. We will take questions at the end. And we also want to let you know that we have 2 very special bonuses for you, those of you that stay till the end, that I think you're really going to enjoy. We are now going to go ahead and begin the session. Paula, why don't we introduce ourselves?
Sure, thanks, Jackie. Well, I'm Paula Noonan, the host of this webinar. I own Capital Contact. It's an online email advocacy platform focused on grassroots communication. I'm also a retired political elected official, a political columnist, and own another website, Colorado Capitol Watch, that tracks the Colorado State Legislature. And I'm very happy to have Jackie Kostner here with us today.
And so I am Dr. Jaclyn Kostner, and I am known as the webinar guru. I've actually been working with virtual teams, virtual meetings, webinars for almost 20 years. And have worked with most of the Fortune 100 companies around the world. We are the go-to person when they want to make their meetings more effective and when they want to have better webinars and all of that. I'm also a best-selling business author. But my favorite way to spend my time is to be with people all over the world that are just looking for better ways to really create those relationships, that personal touch when you are not face-to-face. So thank you for being here. Paula, let's continue.
Yes, we're all familiar with the 80-20 rule. Well, lobbying used to be 80% face-to-face, up close and personal with handshakes and informal chats. Those were the old days. Those are gone. Those days are gone. Jackie?
Gone, gone, gone. That's exactly right. And today, are we finding that most of our influence is virtual? 80% of our communication nowadays is email, Zoom calls, and whatever. But all of us are still struggling with, how do I do that relationship piece? How do I really create new relationships and sustain those that I've already created when I can't be there for a handshake? Well, that's why we are here today. Now, this webinar is going to be very interactive, and I'm going to encourage you to interact with us and with each other in this webinar throughout the session today. Please look at the screen in front of you. You should find that on the screen in front of you that you are muted. That means if you have a headset or you have a microphone on the lower left corner of your screen, you are muted. That's what we want you to be today in the session. And you should probably also find that your video is muted. If it's not, I'm going to ask you for now to turn that video off because it does consume bandwidth and may cause some people to have trouble hearing the webinar. So thank you. Wow, everybody did that so fast. Here's the most important thing I want you to do today, right now, and that is to open up your chat panel. If you look in the lower center part of your screen, of your Zoom screen, you'll see a talking bubble. Just click on it once and it will open up a screen that looks like the plain white blank part that I show on the right of the example here on the screen. Now, just to make sure that everybody knows how to use it, I'm going to ask you to type just a welcome to everybody in the chat. Like I put hello from Denver. Just tell us hello from or greetings from and what city you're calling from today. We do have people calling from all over the United States. So let's just see who all's here. Oh, we have a lot here in Denver and Colorado. That's really wonderful. Connecticut, welcome. Nice to see you. Boy, there's so many of us here in Denver. How fantastic. And so Pueblo Community College, welcome. It's nice to see you. And from California, hey, really nice. Oceanside, really nice. And so welcome everybody for being here. Well, the whole thing is we want you to find really great ideas from what we're going to talk about today in this webinar, things that you can use right away to make your ability to be an advocate even stronger. I want you to think for a moment about working virtually as it exists now in your world. And I would like you hold on a second, I've got to operate the computer and operate this at the same time. I want you to think about your impact on your influence when you are virtual. If it used to be face-to-face, that's your strength. How is it going now in a virtual world? I want you in the chat to put a B if you're finding it's better than face-to-face, put an S if you find it's about the same as face-to-face, and put an L if you find that somehow it's less than face-to-face. You're just really kind of not happy in this environment. So a lot of S's. This is actually very good news. What this is saying is you are doing a lot of things right. What we typically find when we work with virtual teams and virtual workers all over the world is that often we find it's less than face-to-face. So those of you that put the L, and no problem, this is very typical of what we find. What we're going to do today is give you 5 specific ways you can make that a whole lot better. So Paula?
Yes, let's examine today's environment. Let's think about what your greatest virtual challenge is. It could be as simple as the fact that so much is done virtually today. We don't bump elbows, or we do bump elbows, but that's all we get to do. In the hallways at the Capitol, we don't have those close chats anymore. So would you please go to the chat and enter a word or two on what you see as your greatest challenge communicating virtually in this new environment?
So getting connected, yeah, you don't run into people anymore. Wow, that's a big deal. You send an email and you don't get a response back. Informal conversations, yeah, that water cooler time, that informal time at lunch, those are really powerful times for those of us that are advocates. Burnout on virtual meetings, we get it. We really understand. When you make them more interactive, it does make them better. But it looks like, yeah, Zoom fatigue, I love that. Yeah, networking in general, it is a different environment here. COVID is eventually going to go away. Hopefully we'll have some way that we can remove it from our world today, but we are obviously challenged and want to do better at this. And so we're here to learn what that solution is. Paula?
Yeah, let's think about the world a minute from the legislator's point of view also. Think about any major bill that might come before a general assembly these days. It could be healthcare, it could be a tax bill. How many emails do you think a legislator gets in a day on one of these really big bills? How many emails? I'd like you to go to chat and take a guess as to what the volume might be.
And this is just on a single bill, Paula, right?
Billions, I like that one. On a single bill, right? Of course, it depends on the size of the state. OpenGov Foundation, which has done a lot of work on this issue, says that on a big bill, 300 to 500 emails come in per day. Imagine that clogging up your inbox. Another question is, do you think legislators read all of those emails personally? Probably not. So that's a challenge. Jackie?
Yes, it is. And so when you think that they're not just working on one main bill, but many, then we know that that 500 bills a day becomes 10,000 in just a heartbeat. Paula?
Yes, if your superpower specialty has been face-to-face, that's over, at least for now. Face-to-face is 6 feet apart with a mask on. So Jackie, let's talk about some capacity to influence when you're not face-to-face.
Right. And we're going to actually give people 5 specific ways. Let me just state this up front. I've been an expert in virtual communication, virtual teams, and all of that for over 25 years, have been a key resource for the 100 of the top 500 companies in the world. And I just want to say to you, this is a unique opportunity for all of us to skyrocket our value to legislators, because we are used to doing face-to-face and we know how to do that well. But the virtual is the part we need to really get a handle on, because we're going to continue working this way. It's not going to go away, everybody, even once COVID is finally resolved, whenever in the world that might be. Forbes says that even before COVID, 50% of the people of the United States were working virtually. And actually, it's one of the biggest benefits that a company can offer their employees. Many of these Fortune 100s that we worked with have a majority of their people working out of homes, not in office spaces. That kind of shocks everybody. 99% of people say, I prefer virtual. I don't want to be on the highway. I don't want to waste my time in traffic. And I really love the control I have of my life. I can have time for work and time for my social as well. And so success is learning how to leverage this environment so we can be a lot more successful. So let's get to it. The 5 steps to become a virtual advocate superstar. We're looking at ways that we can have greater influence, greater reach, and greater results. We want to start off by talking with you about a case, and we're going to kind of work that case through these 5 best practices. Paula?
Sure. Some of you may remember Senate Bill 238 in Colorado, Improve Wages and Accountability of Home Care Workers. Well, the bill title, well, what do you think about the bill title? Does the bill sound like it's good, or maybe it needs some work, or it's terrible? Would you go to chat and just indicate yes or no, you like or don't like the bill title?
Just type a Y for yes and an N for no. It's fine enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you know, bill titles are all supposed to sound good anyway, but as you look at the bills, that's when the issues come up. So this particular bill introduced instability into the home healthcare environment in Colorado. So I'd like to take a closer look. Number one, first, it increased non-healthcare costs with training and certifications that didn't really add value to the work. Second, clients risked losing their home care because of the cost of home care was going to go up. Third, home care workers were at risk of losing their personal privacy because some of their personal information would be published on the internet. And finally, the whole bill was going to require more paperwork. So the stakeholders had to figure out what was the next step, and they concluded that the bill would need amending. And that's where the virtual world comes into play, how to be a leader in this environment. Jackie?
That's right. And so we're going to now give you those 5 steps in any order. These are not sequential, but they're things that you can do today to better be an advocate in a virtual setting. So the first of the steps as a virtual advocate superstar, the first best practice is to partner up as a high value virtual influencer. Paula?
Yes, being a high value virtual influencer means you're no longer in that virtuoso role. Those of you who have been lobbyists for many years probably feel, gee, that has been my real strength, is that I can go face to face with legislators, but obviously that's not going to happen so much anymore. So the job is to figure out ways to partner up so you can amplify voices and increase your influence. And part of that means collaborating with others virtually on the who, what, when, where, why, and how of legislation. So I'd like to explore that with you a little bit. Jackie, so with this bill, Improve Wages and Accountability of Home Care Workers, let me talk you through it a little bit. Many people were affected by the bill. In fact, if you can think about what would be the impact of increased costs to providers and to others, let's think through which people who would be most affected by this kind of bill. So if you would go over into chat and just think through the dimensions of the bills and what groups of people might be affected by this kind of issue.
Such as home care workers or
seniors, etc.
So as you partner up with other people, first step is we've got to identify who are the people that are impacted by this bill, the actual people.
Right, and I can see by your chat that you are identifying exactly the people who would be most affected. And you can see that this is a very large group, and many of the people are vulnerable, the most vulnerable. So part of the task of being the virtual advocacy leader is to identify those groups and to figure out what associations, what organizations represent those groups, and partner up with them so you can magnify the issue for legislators. So the virtual leader will gather and partner with others. That's the new job. That's been the job, but it's especially true today. Jackie?
It sure is. And so with this particular bill, I was really happy to see in the chat, not only did you list the populations, but you are already listing all the associations that represent those populations. We want to really use the people to get us into the organizations that matter. So just as Paula said, if you can get 5 different groups that are impacted by this bill, we want to do that. And you go to each one individually and collaborate with each association about what to save on the bill, what to remove, and what to change. So in this actual bill, Paula, one group that you worked with was retaining that minimum wage requirement, increasing Medicaid reimbursement for minimum wage. And the third thing was to really remove all the other bill elements. So there was a lot in that bill that we didn't want to happen. Now, what's important here is that we as advocates cannot make these decisions of what these 3 elements are. We want to actually interact with people in the necessary associations to decide what do they want in changes in the bill, and then use what they want as a way to find out what we're going to send out in a message to all of the people that we're going to engage in this bill. Let's now go on to Virtual Advocate Superstar number 2. This is best practice number 2, leveraging advocacy technology. And really, there are a lot of technologies you can use to help you increase your influence, but we're going to look at Paula's for a second here, because I think it's a great example showing you how you can really achieve much higher level of advocacy than using technologies like these, robo-mail, robocalls, faxes, postage letters. Please go over into the chat. And when you get a robo-mail or robocalls, how do you react to that? And what does it do to your day when you get them? First one in is frustrated. I don't answer it. We delete, ignore. Hey, we're all doing this today. And so obviously, if we used to use these methods to really get the interest of different associations or different legislators, don't use it now, because we need to get more into a whole different way of advocating. Paula, why don't you talk about the secret sauce?
Sure. Your technology is crucial, so you need to pick the best, you need to know it well, and you need to use it. And the OpenGov Foundation that I referred to earlier says in their research that the new best way to influence legislators is to drive two-way conversation. And that's the problem, of course, with robo-mail and robocalls, et cetera, is that it's only one way. So we need to promote two-way conversation and keep that going across time. That's one of the secret ingredients of virtual leadership and using great technology. Second, we at Capital Contact hear from advocacy leaders that they worry about grassroots communication and messaging going off the rails. That is, one of their members may send in to a legislator an inappropriate email. So having control of the messaging and managing the messaging is critical. So we thought about these problems very deeply at Capital Contact, and I'd like to show you some of our solutions. And by the way, they're very affordable. First off, we're looking here at a virtual call to action. This is actually a web page with a link that can be distributed very broadly. It looks inviting, it shows urgency, it identifies key points, and it allows your members to offer personal messages. So to start, on the left side, you can see that there's a logo, so you can brand it to your organization. There's the bill title and the bill topic, home healthcare services. The image is there to engage people. The piece has simple language. The bullet points are short and clear. Those are the key points that you want your members to refer to when they're putting in their own personal message to legislators. So this is the key place where you distribute the overall message and tone of what you want people to send in to their lawmakers. On the right side, you can see that we collect and capture personal contact information. And that's important for you so that you know who has responded to your call to action. We also collect district, House and Senate districts and zip codes, so legislators know where the people are coming from who are writing to them. Most important is that the subject line can be personal, so each subject line going into an email box, into an inbox, is different. It's unique, as is the message. That way you avoid the concept of robomail, which is so annoying to legislators. Once your members send in an email, our platform captures that content. And this is where what we can do is unique. We can do everything the traditional way, but we have a unique packaging system that allows you to take supporter messages and bundle them up so that legislators and lawmakers can see hundreds of messages in one email. That's the key. The supporter stories are listed in a way that's powerful, that creates a singular message with many voices. That's influence, that's amplification. So at the top of the email, you'll summarize the essence of your message and focus on the volume of constituents who are writing in on this topic. That becomes very impressive. The bottom presents the stories, the personal stories that your members have written. And through our system, you can move the emails around so you can put the most influential messages on the top.
Sounds like Google, Paula.
Yeah, right. And that's right. You want to try to have that initial contact with the legislator to be very impressive. You can see that legislators can easily see who's writing, where they're coming from, and the message. That's the key. 255 messages listed out in one email. The best part is that legislators can use our platform to reply to these individuals. So with one click, they can complete an email to send out to all their constituents, to all your supporters, or to individuals. It makes it so fast and easy for legislators to get involved in a two-way conversation for once. And their reply, the lawmaker's reply, gets captured in our system, so you can see not only what your supporters wrote to legislators, but what legislators wrote back to your supporters. And there's one more bit that we figured out people need, and that is the ability within the system to communicate with all the supporters using the system in the call to action. So you can thank people for getting engaged with the campaign. You can keep them updated. The whole principle is to keep your communication frequent and complete. Two-way communication between your supporters and lawmakers, and two-way communication between you and your supporters. We really tried to think the whole process through.
Yeah, I just love this because you can really see a big difference between this and the robocalls. You know, this really is generating the conversation that you're talking about. And I love that it closes the loop, Paula. It's so important in creating the relationships and in expanding your influence. So summary to point number two here is leverage that advocacy technology. I don't know about you, but I like to choose technologies that give me more power, more ability to do my job well. And this is one technology that definitely does do that. Paula, a lot of questions are coming in about your technology. I'd like to hold those till the end, but thank you. Go ahead and put them in, everybody. We will look at those and answer your questions at the end of the workshop. Let's
Great.
move on to the next of the best practices, and that is, if you want to be a virtual advocate superstar, here's best practice number 3. Develop an engaging webinar presentation or an engaging virtual meeting. I mean, right now, we are all using so much technology. Go over into the chat and tell me, how many webinars have you actually delivered? 0 is fine, or you might put just some guess of how many you've actually done. Seems like all of us are attending webinars. Are you actually giving them to? Please go over into the chat and just put your number in the chat. Webinars have become the new norm. Even though we kind of would rather be face-to-face, let me tell you, in the big businesses that we serve, some face-to-face meetings did occur again, but the bulk of what is happening is that virtual. So these are not going to go away when the pandemic goes away. And so a lot of them, 15 or so, 3, 2, whatever it might be. Well, we are competing with every technology on the desktop and with all kinds of things that demand people's attention. Look at the guy in the picture here. He's wearing pajamas on the bottom half, but he's got his suit and tie on the top. This is okay to do. What's most important is that you have a compelling presentation and a compelling way that you interact with people that makes people want to attend. I'm going to quickly give you 5 tips you can use right now. All of you are already doing webinars. Here are things you can do right now to make those better. First of all, identify an extremely high value webinar topic. And what I mean by that is it can't just be something that's interesting to know. It's got to be something that's going to rock the world. All right. You've got to make it sound that way. Look at these titles. And let's say that like for this workshop that we did here today, which ones do you see that do not engage you, do not call your attention? Just put any number in the chat of the ones that are not effective in pulling you in. So definitely 1 and 2, right? Go ahead and put it on there, everybody. Which ones are you saying are not good? So it looks like 1 and 2 are coming in by a lot of people. Let's see from the rest of you. Yeah, new tips from advocates. It's not strong enough. Success secrets. Yeah, about what? 1 and 2, I absolutely agree with you, are not effective. But look at 3 and 4. Here's what makes them good. On number 3, how to catapult. How-tos are wonderful titles for webinars. And it can be for an agenda for a meeting too. Catapult, it's not how to increase your influence, it's how to catapult it. It's a colorful, powerful word that generates an image that you go, I really need to increase my effectiveness big time. Look at title number 4, 5 proven ways. Yeah, these are great. People want to know what has worked for other people. Then the last part of title 3 and 4 is influence with legislators virtually, and that's really why we're here. So when you are creating your title, make it really extremely high value. If you want to get, well, we call it butts in seats. If you want people to sign up and show up, that's what you need to do. Number 2, choose the best technology for your webinar or web conference meeting. Now, I think you're going to really love this, and you need to stay with me very closely on this. We've got kind of a large group here today, and I don't know how this is going to go, but I'm going to show you anyway. We're going to do something in just a second here. Look at the 2 snapshots of virtual meetings. This particular screen that we're looking at is WebEx, not Zoom. But look at the screen on the left and look at the screen on the right. Which meeting would you rather be in? The one on the left or the one on the right? Just put left or right. And look at how everybody's saying left. That's right. Keep going and putting them on in. That's right. It is the one on the left. What are you seeing on the one on the left that really pulls you in and makes it different than what so many of us are experiencing in Zoom? What do you like about what's on there? Ooh, look at that, the faces. As human beings, we are drawn to look at each other's faces. So you do want to use your video. In the meetings, everyone needs to have it on. In webinars, we obviously asked you to not use your video in here because with a large number of people, sometimes too many on video makes the technology slow for other people or makes the audio cut out for other people. So that's why we asked you to turn them off. It's okay if you didn't at this point, those of you that came in late. But take a look at this big smile, colorful screen, and all that easier to read text, more personal pictures. Exactly, all those are correct. If we were having a virtual meeting about amending a particular piece of legislation, we have the specific legislation. We've had a discussion about this. We are now going to get a final decision, increase Medicaid reimbursement for minimum wage. Do we agree that we want to approve that or not, or we want to modify it? And we ask people to use what's called a pointer poll. You actually do have this in this technology, but we're going to use one other today that is a little bit more friendly. So we can actually see tangibly who is approving it and who has a problem with it. If someone has a problem with it, we might want to say, hey, Joe, why don't you tell us what's your reservation on this? Joe can talk. We might want to modify something till we get everybody over here to approve. But have you ever been in a meeting where we supposedly make a decision that people come back and say, well, I didn't agree to that. Well, by using this method, your online meeting can actually be more effective than if we use traditional methods like silence. Silence is not making a decision. And so I want to show you some real fun things we're going to do in this section now. 5 tips for webinars. Here's number 3. Interact every 1 to 2 minutes. Now we're in a large group webinar, so these are not really what we use here. We've asked you to interact several times, but in a small group meeting, you want to be interacting a lot in ways that help us process what we want to do to amend that bill. So we talked earlier about collaborate. Remember that word? Collaborate is not just looking at the same screen. Collaborating is typing something in the chat, talking about it with our voices, and using annotations that we're going to use in just a second here. So we want to identify what are the key issues that you saw with this bill. Everyone from that association that's logged in, we want to get their opinion on it before we write up that and use the system that Paula has presented to us. So what are the key issues you see with that bill? What do we want to include? What do we want to delete? What do we want to put? What priority order for the things that we stated here? And so you can do this actually in a virtual meeting a lot better than if we're in the face-to-face meeting. Now I'm going to have you interact with us so that you can see something that you probably didn't know about in Zoom. So we're going to open our annotations panel. If you've never used it, let me show you. I'm going to walk you through it, and I want you to do these as I talk with you. Now, you're going to have to hover your mouse to the top of your screen. Now, right now, where it says you are viewing Paula Noonan's screen, view options, that's my example. That's not your screen. You've got to go way up to the top of your screen, and you will see that green bar, and to the right of it, it says view options. All right, that's where you want to be. You want to see that view options. And then what we want to do is when we click on that view options, a menu is going to open, and it's going to give us the option to annotate. I would like you to select that. And then once you select that, then you'll see the annotations panel open. Now, the one that just dropped in like a basketball, that's mine, not yours. Okay, so what we want you to do is to go to the top of, again, it should appear on the top of your screen, and I want you to find the stamp tool. It's the 4th one in, it says stamp, and just click on it one time. That's just select the stamps, and notice that you get a choice of 6 of them. Right now, I want you to click on any one of them, left click on it once, release your mouse button, then come on the top of the screen and left click again several times. And you can change your annotation and just kind of see all the things that come on here. They're really very fun to use when we're playing, but we're going to show you how you might use them in a meeting and in a way that I think you might enjoy. I'm going to stop for a second, and I'm going to be adjusting the annotations. Just give me a second here. And so I'm going to clear all your annotations away. Boy, you are really good at this. Everybody go back to the check mark, all right, for a second. Go back to the check mark, all right? So we see that we can have different annotations that we use. And so that we might want to use a heart sometime, or we might want to use a check mark or whatever. So let's now go and actually put these into place. So let's say in a bill, I'm going to ask you to stop now because I'm going to change screens, and we don't want any more coming on there. So hold just a minute. You'll have a chance to use it in just 1 second. And so when I go to the next screen, here are webinar platforms, popular ones. I want you with your annotations tool to put a check mark, okay, in any of those rectangles above the words or the ones that you've actually used. Boy, look at Zoom. Zoom is getting a lot of check marks in there, but so is WebEx, Google Hangouts, you know, Skype, a lot of them are on there. So great. So take a look, just stop for a second here. So we can actually get even a lot of people to put their answer in there, and we can see very quickly which one they like. We can also take this to another level. Let me ask you to now go over into your chat, and if you could choose one of these that you like the best, which one is it? Go over into the chat, and I want you to type the words Zoom or Google Hangouts, your favorite of all of them. My favorite is WebEx, because it does everything that Zoom does, but it gives you a bit more control. But Zoom is a wonderful technology for what you do. I'm saying it's very effective. So, so are the others that you've chosen. I'm going to now turn off your ability to annotate just for a second here. So what's really important is notice that I have had you interact with me. In a meeting, we can say, put a check mark next to any of the issues, which one you want to deal with first, or which one is the top priority. We can use chat to build on that. And now I can even call on you. I'm not going to, but I could say, hey, Katie, you said Zoom. What do you like about it? And so I can use this to generate the voice conversation that we need to make that meeting effective. I will tell you that your online meetings can be better than face-to-face, and that's really what we want to happen here. So let me clear away all those marks. Let's go on now. So number 3 is make that webinar or web meeting very interactive. And those are learned skills and how you might make that happen. We have some training that we might want to offer you on that. The 4th best practice in webinars is using your webcam to enhance your presence. Let's take a look at this slide that I'm going to share with you now. And we are going to use the chat again, rather than using the annotations. And so when you look at the 3 images, these are screenshots of videos. Which one looks like they are most engaged? Number 1, number 2, or number 3? Which one is the best? And everybody put your numbers in there real quickly. And as you can see, we're all saying it's number 2. When you are on a camera, do you look like number 1? Is it getting your face to the side? When you are on the camera, do you look like number 3? You're barely covering half the height of that video window. On number 3, that makes you look small. That makes you not look influential. Number 2 is perfect. Notice the top of his head is right at the top of the frame. He's cut at about the armpit level. This is about how close you want to be, and you want to fill that frame. Notice he's even leaning forward. So use your video effectively to really show people I'm listening, I'm engaged, I want to hear what you have to say. The 5th is make sure your voice sounds clear and close. The way we sound to ourselves in our offices, we sound clear and close. We're here. But when you're on the other side of that web conference, then your voice might come across very differently. Tell me, does my voice right now sound near or far? Go into the chat and just put the word near or put the word far. And take a look at this. What I did is I do have a small microphone and I just put it under my chair. I sound far. If you sound far, you can't influence. You've got to make sure that you get online with somebody on the technology that you're using and ask them, how does my voice sound? And work with it until you have a voice that you sound very clear. And so these are like 5 best practices that you can use to make your webinar better. Paula?
Yes. What I find most exciting about this, I love the technology for webinars and meetings. I love using whiteboards and doing the annotation, using the chat tools. Just think, if you have some legislation that you're working on and you need to get some consensus and you need to do some editing, having these tools becomes absolutely critical. And it does the thing that's so important, which is engages everybody in the process. So people have buy-in. That's what increases your influence. And that's what amplifies your capacity to make legislation what you want it to be.
Let's move on now to Virtual Advocate Superstar number 4. And so Paula, use technology to mobilize action. You're the master. Yes. Why don't you talk about this?
Yes, well, we've talked about the emailing technology, but there are so many other tools that are out there right now. Jackie's mentioned WebEx, and I'll make sure she gets to why she likes that technology so much. But there's all the social media, there's the Facebook and the Twitter. And by the way, from the OpenGov Foundation research, it looks like those kinds of technologies are not really as impactful as you might think, because legislators just don't have the time to get to that. So keep that in mind.
You mean Facebook and things?
Facebook, Twitter, I think is pretty powerful, but Facebook, it just takes so much time to manage that. And if you're a state legislator and you don't have much staff and you don't have a lot of tech expertise, you can see what the problem is. So really what you want to think about in terms of your technology, of finding the best technology, of understanding it and being able to use it well, these are the principles that you want to consider. The technology needs to be able to communicate broadly. The whole point is outreach, it's engagement, it's bringing people into the process. So whatever technology you're using, Think about it in terms of, can it communicate broadly? Another issue, can it help you communicate timely? That is, legislation can move very quickly through chambers and through committees. You have to be on top of that. So you need tools that will allow you to reach out. One of the values of the platform that we've created is that the call to action is in a link. You can distribute that any which way. You can use Twitter, you can use Facebook, you can use email, anywhere a link can go, that call to action can go. Finally, you need to be able to communicate frequently. People, to keep them engaged, you need to ask them for their help. And if they give you help, it's important that you keep them informed as to what the progress is on legislation, to thank them for their help with legislation, to write newsletters, to keep them informed generally about what's going on in the legislature. All of that helps you to amplify your voice and to increase your influence. And you can do that virtually. That's the point.
Paula, if I might interrupt you for a moment, someone asked, that was Karima. She asked, how does your technology differ from Constant Contact?
Well, that's a good question. Constant Contact can be a tool that you use to distribute the link. So any kind of email platform that you might be using, Constant Contact, Monkey, what's the monkey one?
Survey, well.
Chimp. You know what I'm
MailChimp.
talking about. Yeah, MailChimp, thank you. Any of those technologies can be used to distribute the link that your members would click on. That's the call to action that links into our system. It's so cool. It's really powerful. It works on any email system, but that's what you need to be thinking about when MailChimp. That's what you need to be thinking about when you're communicating broadly, timely, and frequently. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, that was a great question.
Yes.
And so number 5, Virtual Advocate Superstar, power up your PowerPoint to communicate with legislators and supporters. You know, the world survives or thrives on PowerPoint nowadays. I want you to look at the 2 slides in front of us here. Which one pulls you in? Which one do you want to look at? Number 1 on the left or number 2 on the right? Go ahead and put your answer in the chat. So that doesn't take very long. Yeah, number 2, obviously, no one is saying the left. If your slides still look like the left, I will tell you that people instantly stop looking. That is something that people in our age of high-res graphics and HD TVs and all the technology around us, no one is going to watch number 1 unless we're dissecting a piece of legislation. And so it's important that we learn new techniques and how to leverage PowerPoint. It really makes it very easy for us to insert pictures like you see here, insert timely words, but notice that speak in pictures, talk about it in your voice, and that's what will keep people engaged. We actually have some training that can help you to do this a whole lot better. And so, Paula, why don't we now go ahead and summarize? So everyone, as far as the 5 best practices, we've covered them for you. We now want to go over them one by one, just so you get that as we are wrapping up the technology. But please don't leave yet, because we have some bonuses for those of you that are still here. Number 1 is partner up as a high-value virtual influencer. Partnering up means really collaborate with those associations. Collaborate on what that message is going to be on the left side of the form that you're sending out to the association members. Collaborate on what you want to change about the job. Don't just pre-do it and say, can we send this out? You're not going to get their support. We need to make sure they have been a part of making that decision. That's where you expand your influence.
Yes, and the next thing, leverage lobbying technology software. This is how you get that outreach. This is how you get that engagement. Technology can actually be very, very helpful to you in this regard. It lets you get more done in less time and increases your influence by orders of magnitude. That's what good lobbying technology can help you to do.
And I just love that your lobbying technology closes the loop. I mean, it's not only getting to the legislator, but once all of that is happening, to thank the people for participating and to send them, here's what happened to this bill because what you said mattered. I think those are just powerful, Paula, and just wonderful. Number 3, develop an engaging webinar presentation or virtual meeting. You've got a lot of competition out there. People want to be a part of it. Really, if your virtual meetings are terrible, if they're boring and people are not responding, there are ways that you can pull them in, and we've got to learn how to do that a whole lot better. Paula?
Yes, I hope you took in the concept of that engagement using technology, because technology can mobilize action. And that's the key word here, is mobilizing action, getting people involved, using social media, using your emailing tools. All of these are key. Remember, communicate broadly, communicate timely, communicate frequently. Jackie?
It's wonderful. I want to thank you, Paula. And we just got a question coming in about what about on webinars, the need to make it accessible. Actually, WebEx does a very good job of that. They do have that built into the technology, which we can talk about later. Number 5, power up your PowerPoint to communicate with legislators and supporters. If you want their attention, make it something they want to look at. All right, that's really important. If you're not using PowerPoint to create videos for your advocacy group, you want to be using PowerPoint for videos, PowerPoint for your meetings, PowerPoint to accelerate the interaction on what to do to change the bill. We really need to make PowerPoint an interactive tool, not just an information tool. And so this wraps up the presentation, but we have one more thing we want you to do here. Let's go back and reopen that annotations panel. And so I'm going to go up and enable those annotations to be in effect. So go to the top of your center of your screen again. And I want you to hover over it till you have that drop-down menu that says View Options. And then you want to make sure you select Annotate again. And then you want to make sure that you go to the annotation tools that come in on your annotation tools and click on the stamp. You can select whichever of those stamps that you want to use. I leave that entirely up to you, okay? And so what we want to do is ask you to take a moment, all right, and no practice now on this particular sheet, because I want you to have a chance on this sheet to really reflect on what we've talked about here today. And I know that a lot of you are doing great things already. And so like on item 1, which was our first best practice, if you're doing this now, put your annotation on the left. But if you heard things today that can make it better, put another annotation on the right-hand column. And let's just see how we did today. So we're smart. You know, we've already been working on this and trying to make this better. But look at all the stars on the right. I am so happy to see all of this. Would you go into chat? And I want you in the chat to put on there, what is the one thing you want to do first to make your advocacy stronger and more influential? What is number 1 on your list? And you can just put the number on there. Number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Which one are you going to work on first? I want you to do this so that before you log off from us today, you can reflect on the fact that we did review some wonderful things to help you with your advocacy practice. And so a lot of really great things here. I am going to go back just a second here. And so these look very good. Please go ahead and put it one other number. So I know you've thought about it. That's what I'm asking you to do, is to think about, what am I going to do first? Because the first step is the first step in getting to where you want to be. And that's really the goal here. And so I want to thank you for all of that. And I'm going to go ahead and move on to the next slide here. And unfortunately, I have to remove these annotations so that I can I can move on, and we don't have
all the hearts and the stars. That's
right. All the hearts and stars. Okay, so we mentioned we had some bonuses for you, and so Paula, why don't you talk about that?
I want to give you some hearts and stars. Capital Contact is the name of the software. It really is terrific. We've thought a lot about how to make it work best for legislators and for you. So what we'd like to do is give you one free advocacy campaign. You can just contact us and we'll get you set up. And then if you decide to go forward, 15% discount. We have month-to-month subscriptions and annual. And whichever you choose, you can get a 15% discount. You will find it to be worthwhile. Thank you very much.
And Jackie, thank you for making that offer, Paula. I have several things to offer you. One is we have some online training that has been very popular. That's not how to operate PowerPoint. It's how to put pictures on the screen, where to get them, how to put them on there, how to make them look interesting, how to use all the different icons that are built in, how to use the newer graphics functions to really help you look more graphically interesting when you put your slides together. That is discounted 2/3 from our normal price. Usually this that goes for $300, but we've got this direct link here that you can use. It's for $99 now. If any of you are interested in learning how to have an effective virtual meeting with a group of about 10 people using Zoom, we also have training on that is live. And we don't offer that in any package other than if you let me know that you're interested, and then we'll come back to you. We'll get a group together and we'll do that training for you. But both of these were things that we did for the Fortune 500 companies, and they're really very effective.
And by the way, I did Jackie's PowerPoint training. It is so helpful. It opened up my eyes. I'm not a visual person. Jackie made it visual, and it just changed how I think about how I communicate with people. It's really fantastic. That's just a pitch for Jackie, because she earned it. Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of fun. And if you also need some help with webinars, we have training, but I just sold my old business. I'm now in a new business called Webinar Guru. And so we're now working with small and medium-sized businesses. And so everything is changing, and we're in the process of switching now. So on behalf of Paula and myself, we want to say thank you for being here for the webinar. But now let's go to the Q&A. We had some really great questions come in. Anyone that has an additional question you want to ask, please do that. In the interim, I'm going to go into the chat here, and I'm going to go back.
I'd like to answer. There's questions about ADA, making it ADA accessible, etc. And Zoom does have a caption feature. But I just didn't have the resources to take advantage of it. But what I'm going to do is we're going to take this recording and add captions to that. So if you have somebody you think that this would be valuable to, please email me, and we'll make sure we get this closed caption recording off to whoever you think would find it helpful. And Capital Contact, which is our emailing platform, is ADA compliant in every respect. We had the Colorado Coalition of Disabled People go through the platform with us to make sure that we could make it ADA compliant.
Yeah, and if you have any special needs, just email either of us, because we can also make other resources available to people that may have those needs. I'm looking at the chat, and one question that came in from Mickey is, she said, not everyone uses video or stays focused with a virtual meeting. How do you really engage folks? You need to learn how to accelerate brainstorming, problem solving, decision making. When this webinar is over, we have a handout we're going to send out to you. And on the front side of the handout are the 5 best practices we talked about here today. On the back side are the specific offers from Paula and me. And one of them is about how to really lead a highly interactive, highly collaborative virtual meeting that accelerates brainstorming, decision making, and really the cohesion of the group. It's phenomenal. Can't tell you just by turning your cameras on it's going to make a difference. It isn't. You need to make sure that there is very vigorous interaction going on throughout, using annotations, chat, and whatever else might be available in that technology. I'm scrolling down the chat. There were some questions for Paula that came in, and that's what I'm trying to find here. Paula, you might want to scroll and find them too.
Sure. I think some of the questions had to do with the technology we have. This is a platform that can be used across the country. So we have preloaded all of the state legislators, and we have an extra advantage, which was to email into the US Congress. Normally you have to do it to each individual legislator, but we've gone in, and because of our the tool we have where we can package up emails, we put in the staffers of the US representatives and senators. So you can email into the specific staffer that is involved in your issue into a congressional office or a senator's office. And that way you're getting your message to exactly the right person who can influence most the congressman or the congresswoman. So that's an added feature that I didn't talk about, but is really powerful. And so when you use our software, all you have to do is you go in and you select either the legislators by committee or individually or by party or by chamber, and off you go. It is really very simple. We've tried to really think it all through. So thank you for asking.
We have another question from Chelby, and she says, does the legislator have to go to a separate website to reply?
No, that's what's so slick. They click and up comes a form that they fill out, and then they form an email form, and then they can select the people they want to send it to, and off it goes. So no, it's all in one system.
And there's another question from Kathy. Is this bundling option limited to email, or could it be extended to Twitter and other options?
Well, you can always download the bundle into an Excel or some sort of a spreadsheet and make a file and send it out that way. So there are many different ways of getting this information out to legislators.
Great. We have one more question here, Paula, from Karima. Can you name this technology again?
Yes, capitalcontact.com.
And it's on the screen.
Appreciate your asking.
Right. And so you'll see that also in the emails that are coming out just after our session is over. Well, I think that's everyone here. Oh, there's one more from Texas. Is it available in Texas?
Yeah, it's available everywhere. We've people from Texas have used it. They think it's terrific. And by the way, I want to thank all of you for coming. This is really special to me and to Jackie. We hope we've added some value to you, to your day, and we look forward to working with you sometime in the future. Jackie?
Wonderful. Well, I just want to say thank you for being here as well. We hope you found value in what you learned here and that you go out and do it. So have a wonderful day, everybody.